Hey everyone, welcome back to Widget Wisdom. Today we are going to tackle one of the most critical questions in Flutter development. Why should you use Block for state management? Now you have probably heard about different state management solutions like Provider, Riverpod or GetX. But today we are going to focus on Block and why it's a game changer for your app stability, maintainability and overall performance. So let's jump right in. Before we dive into why Block is so valuable, let's talk about the experience of not using proper state management in your apps. Imagine a scenario. You have built an e-commerce app and your user is browsing through product. They add an item to the cart and they switch to another screen. But when they come back, the cart is empty. So this is a terrible user experience, right? This happens because the app isn't managing state properly. State, in simple terms, is the condition of your app at any given time. What's in the cart, which user is logged in, whether data has been fetched from the server, and so on. Without proper state management, your app becomes unpredictable. User might get lost some data, experience crashes, or see outdated information. Now that we have seen what can go wrong without proper state management, now you may ask that why we should use Block. So Block is a powerful pattern that enforces clear separation between your UI and the logic that drives it. This means your UI doesn't directly handle the data. Instead, it just reacts to changes. Block make your app predictable. When you add an item to the cart or load a list of products, you can be sure that Block is handling all the data flow and managing how the app's state changes over time. Let's talk about the apps that have to scale. So for example, take a streaming app like Netflix or Spotify, where there are hundreds of interactions happening at the same time. Playing content, adding songs to a playlist, switching between profiles and etc. If the app doesn't manage state well, it can easily break. You could end up with content that doesn't play smoothly and user data might get lost, or playlists that don't update correctly. With Block, managing multiple streams of data becomes more structured. Each state change is handled systematically, ensuring that your app can scale without issues as more user and features are added. At the end of the day, Block is a powerful tool that ensures your app can handle state transitions smoothly. Whether you are working on a small app or a large-scale platform, Block provides structure, scalability, and predictability that will save your headaches down the road. However, it's also important to recognize when not to use Block. If you are building a simple app with minimal state changes, using something like Provider or Riverpod might make more sense. Block truly shines when you are dealing with complex interactions, multiple states, or apps that require high performance and accuracy. Now in the second part, let's talk about something cool in Flutter called a stream. I know, it sounds complicated, but don't worry, by the end of this video, you will totally get it, okay? Imagine you are standing by a river. A river flows with water, right? Now what if I told you that data can flow just like water? Well, that's what a stream is in programming. It's like a river for data. Data flow one piece at a time, just like how water flows in a river. Sometimes you might want to stand by the river and watch the water flow. Sometimes you want to catch a fish. In programming, stream let you do something similar. You can watch the data as it flows by and you can catch it when you need to use it. Let's make this super easy to understand with the example. Imagine you are at an ice cream stand and the vendor is giving out ice cream cones one at a time. Now, you love ice cream, so you decide to stand there and wait. Every time the vendor gives out a cone, you take it and eat it. In programming, this is just like a stream. The ice cream cones are data, and you are standing there watching them come out one by one. You don't know when the vendor will stop giving out cones, and you don't know how many cones there will be. You just know that you will get them one at a time. That's how a stream works in Flutter. The data, like the ice cream cones, keep flowing and you can use it when it arrives. Now that we have understanding of what a stream is, let me tell you something very cool. Streams are used everywhere. Every time you watch a video, the stream is sending you data one piece at a time. When you listen to music, a stream sends you song bit by bit. Even when you are waiting for something to download, that's a stream sending you the file little by little. So next time you are playing a game or chatting with your friends, remember, streams are working behind the scenes, making sure everything flows smoothly, just like a river of data. So let's understand the streams with a simple example. So here I'll create a simple asynchronous generator function that returns a stream of integers. So for the return type of this function, here add the stream, and we are going to return the stream of numbers. So here add the int inside this angle bracket. So here stream means that instead of returning all the data at once, it returns a sequence of data over time. Then let's name this function as a number stream. Then here add the async with asterisk sign. So this async with asterisk sign is used when creating a generator function that produces a stream. It tells Dart that this function will asynchronously yield values. In this case, async asterisk allows the function to yield a new value after each iteration of the loop, rather than returning a single result. Then inside this function, add a for loop which runs from 1 to 5. Then inside this loop, add the await and then future.delayed and add the duration of 1 second. So this introduces a delay of 1 second. So here future delayed simulates asynchronous behavior like waiting for an external event or fetching data from a network. Then after this, we are going to yield the data instead of returning a value like a normal function. So basically, yield emits or produces a value, in this case index, into the stream. Each time yield is called, the stream emits a new value. The numbers 1 to 5 are emitted one at a time after a delay of 1 second between each emission. So here this number stream is called and it creates a stream of integer. Each seconds, the stream will emit the next number like 1, 2, 3 and so on. And this delay of 1 second simulates a real-world scenario where each value takes time to become available, such as fetching data from the internet. Now, you can consume this stream using stream methods like listen. So for that, come inside this main function and then here call this number stream method and then here add the listen method. So this listen method is used to subscribe to a stream. This means the program is listening for values that are emitted by the stream. Then inside this listen method, here we need to add a callback function as an argument. This function will be executed every time the stream emits a new value. Then here add the argument as a number and this number argument holds the value emitted by the stream. Now inside this function, let's print this number. So here I have added the print statement for printing number. So this program subscribes to the number stream since number stream generates number with a 1 second delay. So the listen method will be triggered each time a new number is emitted. The callback function will be executed whenever the stream emits a new number. This will happen 5 times and each time the number will be printed with the message. Now let's save this code and run the application. Now inside the console, you can see our number is getting printed in the console after every second. So now we have proper understanding about the streams in Flutter. Now let's talk about the Qubit, that what is Qubit, how does it work and why is it awesome for managing state in Flutter apps. So first thing first, what exactly is Qubit? Think of Qubit as a simpler version of Block and it's a state management solution. Now in Flutter, managing the state of your app is important because it decides what gets displayed on the screen based on user actions or events. A qubit is basically a class that emits new state based on the actions or events. Every time you press a button or change something in your app, the qubit changes the app state and your UI updates accordingly. Now you may ask that the same thing can be done by the block. So why I need to use the qubit? So both qubit and block are part of the same Flutter package. However, block uses streams to manage state and events, which adds some complexity like having to manage both events and states. On the other hand, Qubit simplifies things. It only deals with states. No event required. You directly call methods to change the state. That's why Qubit is easier to learn and use, specifically for smaller apps or beginners. Now you may be wondering that where would I use Qubit in real app? Well, Qubit is perfect for managing simple state in Flutter, like forms. You can manage form inputs, validation and submission using Qubit. Or you can use the Qubits in API. So Qubit can handle API states like loading, success and error. Or you can also use the Qubit for managing user authentication and session states. In short, Qubit is great for small to medium-sized apps where state management can be tricky. Now let's jump into a simple example to explain how Qubit works. We will create a basic counter app that increases or decreases a number and we will manage this with Qubit. Sounds simple, right? It is. So follow me and pay attention to the code. So come to your IDE and then go to pubspec.yaml file and here first add the Flutter block dependencies. Okay, now tap onto this pubget option to get all the dependencies. Then go to the lib directory and here create a new Dart file as counterQubit. Then come inside this file and here create a new class as counterQubit and this class will going to extend the qubit and the state of this qubit is in integer form because this is a counter application. So inside the angle bracket, here add the int. So here this qubit will allow us to emit a new states in response to user action or business logic. So here this counter qubit will going to manage an integer state. Okay, then come inside this class, and here let's create the constructor for this. So here I have created the constructor as counter qubit, and then here add the super 0. So here we are calling the constructor of the parent class, and it sets the initial state of the qubit to 0, or let's say this is the starting count value. So when the counter qubit is created, the counter's initial value will be 0. Now inside this qubit, let's create an increment method to increase the number. So this method will be get used for increasing the count value. So from this method, we will emit the state by increasing the count value by 1. So for increasing the count value, here add state plus 1. Now you may ask that why we are using state instead of this, we can use count here. So basically here state refers to the current value of this qubit state, and the state of this qubit is the integer number which represents the current value of the count. Okay, now after calling increment, the new state will be emitted, and this change can trigger UI updates in Flutter app. Now same as increment method, let's create a new method as decrement method, and we will use this method to decrease the counter value. So do the same, just emit the state minus 1 because we are going to decrease the value of the count. Now let me quickly explain you this code. So when the counter qubit is created, its state is initialized to 0. Then we have two state management method. The increment method increases the state by 1 and emits the new value, and the decrement method decreases the state by 1 and this emits a new value. Then we have this emit function. So it is used to update the state and notify any listener that state has changed. In a typical Flutter app, when emit is called, the UI can rebuild or update in response to this new state. Now let's see how we can use this counter qubit in our main.dart file. So now come to the main.dart file, and here come inside this my app, and then come to this material app, and here wrap this home widget with a block provider. Then this block provider needs to create parameter. So here add the create, and then add the context, and then here we need to initialize our qubit. So here add the counter qubit. So this create method initializes the counter qubit, and this block provider provides the counter qubit to all its descendant widget. Then let's convert this my home page into a stateless widget. So here I have converted this into a stateless widget. Then come inside the build method, and here create a new variable as counter qubit. Then for accessing the counter qubit, here just add the context.read, and then add the its type. So type is counter qubit, so add that. So here basically this line retrieves the counter qubit from the block provider. Now using this counter qubit, we can use this to call the qubits method which we have created like increment and decrement method. Okay, now come into the body part, and from here remove everything, and here add a center widget. Then for its child, here add the block builder. Then inside the angle brackets, here add the qubit type. So our qubit is a counter qubit, so here add that, and then its state, like what state it produces. So here we are producing int state, so here add int. So basically this block builder listens to the counter qubit and rebuilds the UI whenever the state or let's say counter value changes. Then inside block builder, here we need to add the builder. So add the builder, and inside this here add the context and count. So this take the context and the current count value, and it returns a widget to display the current counter value. So from here we are basically just returning a simple text widget to show the current count value. So here add the text widget, then add the string as counter value. Then here we need to display the count. So here add the $count. Then also add the style and add the font size to 24. Then here add the floating action button, and inside the floating action button, let's add a row widget. Okay. Then here add its main axis alignment to end, and then for children, here add a floating action button, and for its child, here add the add icon, and for its onPressed method, call the increment method using the counter qubit. So here simply add the counter qubit and then dot increment, and then also add a sized box of width 10. Okay. Then copy this above floating action button, and here add the same floating action button again. Just change the icon to remove and change the function to decrement from increment. Okay. Now if you save the code and run the application, then you can see here whenever I'm tapping onto this plus icon, then the count value is increasing, and whenever I'm pressing into this minus button, the count is decreasing. So this is how you can implement the qubits in Flutter. So that's it for this video. and tomorrow we will going to see about how blocks work in Flutter. And if you enjoy this video, then please do like, share and subscribe to Widget Wisdom. Hello Widget Watchers, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are diving deep into Block, one of the most powerful and widely used state management solutions in Flutter. So, what exactly is Block? So basically, Block stands for Business Logic Component, and it's a design pattern specifically for state management in Flutter. With Block, you separate your app's logic from the user interface, making your code more organized, reusable, and testable. Here is the core idea about Block. We have events, state, and block. So events represents action in the app like pressing a button or fetching data from an API. State means what's displayed in the UI. Every time the state changes, or let's say the data changes, our UI will get updated. Then we have block. So block component listens for events, processes them like fetching data or running some logics, and then emits a new state for the UI to update. So to make block easy to understand, let's take a real-world example of a simple counter app. This app will allow a user to increment or decrement a counter. We will break it down into events, state, and how the block manages these. So events represents action that happen in the app. These actions trigger the block to do something. In our counter app, the two main events are increment counter and decrement counter. So we will use increment counter when the user taps on a button to increase the counter, and we will use the decrement counter event to decrease the counter value when a user press onto the negative button. And for other example, let's imagine you are using a stopwatch, and when you press the start button, it sends an event that triggers the stopwatch to start counting time. And if you press the pause button, it sends a different event to stop the timer. Similarly, in our counter app, tapping the plus button sends an event to increment the counter value, and tapping the minus button sends an event to decrement the counter value. Now I think you have proper understanding about the events. Now let's talk about the states. So state is what get displayed in the UI based on the events. In the counter app, the state is the value of the counter. So basically the counter starts at 0, and when the user increments, the state become 1, 2 or anything else. And when user decrements, the state becomes -1, -2 or anything else. So let's understand this with some real world example. So think of the state as the number shown on the stopwatch. Every time you press the button to start or stop, the state changes to reflect the updated time. Similarly, in our counter app, the number shown on the screen is the state of the app, and each time the counter changes, the app state updated and the new number is displayed. So block acts like the middleware between the events and state. It listens to the events, or let's say user actions, and update the state accordingly. In the counter app, the increment counter event tells the block to increase the counter value, and the decrement counter event tells the block to decrease the counter value. So the block takes care of the logic. When the user presses a button, it processes the event and emits a new state, like the updated counter value. And let's imagine the stopwatch again. When you press start, the stopwatch listens to the event and start counting and update the displayed time. When you press stop, it listens to the event and pauses the counting. Similarly, in our counter app, when the plus or minus button is pressed, the block updates the counter value and sends the updated number to the UI to display. In simple terms, block helps you manage your app's flow from events to updated UI in a highly structured way. Let's break this down with an easy to follow example. Imagine you are building a shopping app and you want to display a list of products, and you need to handle different states like loading, like when the app is fetching products, or the success state, that when products have been successfully fetched. Or let's say if you have some error, then you also need to manage that state to show some error, like what goes wrong and products fail to load. So let's see how it works. So the user opens the app. This triggers an event called fetch products. The block listens for this event and runs the logic to fetch products from the server. While fetching, the block emits a loading state, and if the fetch is successful, the block emits a success state with a list of products, and if the fetch falls, it emits an error state. So the UI listens to these state and updates accordingly, showing a loading indicator for the loading state, or displaying the products for success state, or showing an error for the error state. To make this even clearer, let's take a real-world example, that a news app. The goal of the app is simple. It displays the latest headlines, but it also needs to handle different states like loading news articles from an API, successfully showing them, or handling errors. So now let's break it down. So first thing first, we have event, that the app launches and an event is fired, something like fetch news. Then we have block. So this block will processes this event and it reaches out to the API to get the latest headlines. So up until now, we have seen event and block. Now let's talk about the state. Like for this single API, we need to manage the 3 states. First one is the loading state. Like for while waiting for the API, the block emits a loading state and the UI shows a loading indicator. Then we have success state. Like when the API responds with news article, the block emits a success state and the UI displays the list of articles. And then we have error state, like if the API fails, or let's say your device is not connected to the internet, the block emits an error state and the UI shows an error message like failed to load news. The cool thing about this pattern is that you are completely separating what the app does from what the app shows, or it keeps everything clean and easy to manage. Have you ever think about that why block is a great choice for state management in Flutter? Now let's break down the answer of this question. So block provides us the various things like separation of concerns. Like block encourages you to keep the business logic separate from the UI code, and this make your code easier to manage, especially in large applications. Then we have reusability thing, like you can reuse logic across different parts of your app. For instance, fetching data from an API can be used in multiple screens. And then we have great testability, like since the logic is separated from the UI, you can easily write unit tests for your block classes. Then it also have great scalability option, like block is a good choice for medium to large apps because of the clean structure it provides for managing complex app flows and multiple states. In short, block is a powerful tool when your app has a lot of moving parts and you need a consistent, organized way to manage the app's behavior. So what's the difference between block and qubit? Both come from the same family, but they serve slightly different purpose. So let's break it down. So first point is the complexity. Block uses both events and state. So this is a great for apps that have more complex logic. For example, you might want to react to multiple events like button presses, API calls, or user interaction. Meanwhile, qubit is simpler than block. It only deals with state and you directly call function that emits state. There are no events in qubit, so it's less code to write and maintain, which makes it easier to use for smaller apps. Then let's talk about the structure differences. So in case of block, you have to define both the event and the state. This gives you more control but adds a bit of extra work. For example, in the news app, you need to define a fetch news event and have states for loading, success, and error. But in qubit, you don't need to define events, just methods that updated the state, and this simplifies things a lot. Now let's talk about their use cases. So in case of block, it is best for large, complex apps with lots of user interactions and different flows. If you have an app with many screens or features like login, fetching data, form validation, or anything, block is a solid choice. But qubit is great for smaller apps or less complex features. If your app doesn't require handling many events, qubit gives you a more straightforward way to manage the state. In summary, block is for apps that needs more advanced state handling with events and states, while qubit is the simpler, lighter option when you don't need the complexity. To wrap things up, block is an excellent solution for handling state in larger, more complex Flutter apps. It separates the business logic from the UI, making your app easier to maintain and test. Meanwhile, qubit is a simpler alternative, perfect for smaller apps or when you don't need the full complexity of block. Both are powerful tools and choosing between them depends on the complexity of your app. So that's it for the theory part. Now let's understand block with some code examples. So for that, open your IDE and then don't forget to add this Flutter block package in your pubspec.yaml file. Then tap on the pubget option to get all the dependencies. Then create a new Dart file and name it as counter event. Then come inside this file and here first create an abstract class and name it as counter event. So this counter event acts as the base class for all events related to this counter, which means this counter event represents action that a user or a system can trigger. These actions will then cause the block to change its state. Then here let's create two classes. One is increment event and another one is decrement event. So increment event class will represents the action of incrementing the counter and the decrement event class will be represents the action of decrementing the counter. So these are the two events that can be triggered in the counter app. So here this increment event and decrement event are specific events that tell the block to either increase or decrease the counter value. Now let's create a new Dart file as counter state. So this counter state class will represents the state of the counter. Now inside this file, first create a class and name it as counter state. And this class will have a single property called counter value, which will store the current counter value, and it contains a single field counter value, which holds the current value of the counter. And then create the constructor and add the counter value as required parameter. Now let's implement the block that listens to event and updates the state. So come to the lib directory and here create a new class as counter block, and then this class will extend the base block class. So here this counter block specifically deals with two things, counter event and counter state. So here this counter event is an action that triggers state changes like increment or decrement, and this counter state represents the current state of the counter, that is the current counter value like 1, 2, 3 or anything. Then here add the default constructor for the counter block. So now here we need to initialize the block with the starting state. So here add the super keyword, then inside this super keyword here add the initial state of counter state, and then add the counter value as 0. So this means that counter starts with a value of 0. Now here we need to add the event handlers. So let's first add the handling for the increment event. So here add on, then inside the angle brackets add the event name. So here add the increment event because we are using this to increment the counter value. Then here we need to add a function. So when the increment event is triggered, this functions run. So let's create this function. So here add the event and emit, and from this function emit a new state. In this case it emits a new counter state with the updated counter value. So here add the current state which holds the counter value and adds 1 to it. Now do the same for the decrement event. Just change the event name to decrement event, and then from here replace the plus with minus because we use this function to decrement the counter value. So here this counter block listens for two events. Increment event, when triggered, it increases the counter value by 1, and the decrement event, and when it is triggered, it decreases the counter value by 1. And the initial state of the counter is 0, and anytime an event is processed, the counter block emits a new counter state with the updated value. Now let's implement this block into our UI. So for that, come to the main.dart file, and here let's create a new stateless widget as counter screen. Then come to the my app widget, and then from here remove this my home page, and here add the counter screen. Then wrap this counter screen with the block provider widget. So this block provider widget will be used to initialize the counter block, and it also provides the counter block to all its descendant widget. So for initializing the counter block, here add the create parameter and here add the counter block, and this will initialize the counter block. Okay. Now come to the counter screen class. Then come to the build method, and here first we need to get the counter block. So here add the final counter block. Then from the block provider, here add the off method, and then from this method, here add the counter block. So this will get the counter block from the block provider. So here this counter block will be used to interact with the block. Okay. Then from this class, return a scaffold widget, and then from the scaffold widget, here add the app bar, and then from the app bar, here add the title, and then from the title, here add the text widget, and then from the text widget, here add the title as the block counter. Then from the scaffold widget, here add the body property, and for body, here add the center widget, and then for its child, here add the block builder widget, and then inside the angle brackets, here add the counter block, and then add the counter state. So this block builder widget will listen to the counter block, and then it will rebuild the widget whenever the state of the counter block changes. So from here return a text widget, and here add the counter value and then state.counter value. So this state will hold the current counter value. Then for style, here add the text style, and then from this text style, here add the font size as 24. Then from this scaffold widget, here add the floating action button, and for floating action button, add the row widget. Then sets its main axis alignment to the end. So this will align the floating action button to the end of the row. Then inside the children, here add the floating action button widget, and for its child, here add the add icon, and for its onPressed method, here we need to increment the counter value. So here add counter block, and then inside the block, here add the increment event. So basically here we are adding the increment event to the counter block, and this will increase the counter value by 1. Okay. Then here add a sized box of width 16. Then copy this above floating action button and then paste it here. And then change the icon to the remove icon. And then for its onPressed method, here at the decrement event. So this will decrease the counter value by 1. So this is how we can implement the block in Flutter. Now let's test this app. So for that, save the code and run the application, and here app is installed, and here I'm having the initial counter value as 0, and then here I'm having the increment and decrement button. So when I click on the increment button, then the counter value is increased by 1, and when I clicked on to the decrement button, then the counter value is decreased by 1. So this is the basic implementation of block in Flutter. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and you can support this channel by joining Patreon membership, or you can also support the channel by joining the channel membership. So if you like the video, then please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.